Shall we start? Let's start. The music's done. I hate boring, no music moment. All right. I would like to, before I kind of introduce myself, thank you so much for being here. I'd like to take a survey from everyone. Who are developers that you think you are developers right now, that you're working for the company, you're not self-employed, you're working for the company. Would you like to raise your hands? I'd like to see how many people here. Wonderful, okay. Now, my next question will be vice versa. Who are independent developers, contract by only, work for themselves? Raise your hand, please. Very nice. This is great. This is awesome. So this talk is all about all of us. That's including me, right? So now let me introduce myself. This particular session is really not about where you can get those open source. You guys are developers. Let's talk developer language. Can we do that? Sounds good? I don't want a salesy talking. I don't want a marketing. I don't want fancy glorify. Let's talk heart to heart. So I want you guys to be interactive. Even I'm standing here, I would love you guys to speak up, ask questions. I want this to be very lively interactive because you have value. You spend time with me for the next 15 minutes. I want you guys to pack with value before you leave this place. Like you feel, wow, I really learned something about it. So ultimate goal, this particular session is for what? For growing your career. Either you are employed or you are self-employed. Am I correct? So why open source? Anybody knows about open source? How many people actually contribute to open source before? Raise your hand. Yeah, very good. That's kind of my expectation. So I really want to show you guys how to get in there quickly, how you can contribute, find those mechanisms. I'm not going to give you the tooling, because tooling is out there. You can Google, navigate it, no problem. It's more on the mentality. How you prepare, it's all about the plan. But by starting this session, I want to show you guys a little videos by Geico. This company, pretty smart, because everybody hates selling insurance or people who sells insurance. But somehow they successfully managed to sell themselves in the space of insurance. And why am I talking about this? Developer is the same thing too. You have thousands of the developers in this region that you're competing with. So how you build your profile, it's very crucial from technically speaking. And I can tell you right now, my name is Juanita Dion. My husband's working at the UC Berkeley as a professor, and I'm working with IBM for the past 14 years. And I am an offering manager, and this fancy title really just marketing, product owners, engineering, prioritizations. So I see a lot of struggle. I've seen tons of talented developers that they're struggling to get themselves known to this executive space, where executives think one way, we think different way. So how are we going to reach out to that point using simple word called, quote unquote, open source? Then you understand why. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this video. And the reason I'm saying that is I will try to tell you a little bit more deeper on that. Hopefully we can play.
I can't believe it. That I won the best of sweepstakes and I get to be in this Geico commercial?
Let's do the eyebrows first. Just tease it a little. Maybe a little dry shampoo on the chin.
Dry shampoo?
Go on, slather it all over. Don't hold back.
Well, the squirrels followed me all the way out to California, and there's a very strange badger staring at me.
No, I can't believe how easy it was to save hundreds of dollars on my car insurance with Geico.
Where's the camel?
Mr. Big Shot's got his own trailer.
Roll out, rush in, drop back, defend on the gridiron.
Hey, sorry. Caleb needs 3 more hours.
Come on!
Believe it. Geico could save you 15% or more on your car insurance.
All right, so how are you doing? So all this is a big idea about selling yourself in the right method, a mechanism. It's a good thing. But you gotta somehow have some kind of humor to build that on top of your dry developer profile. And that's what somebody told me about dry, and I get very offended. Don't get me wrong, I understand your feeling. I got very offended about why people telling me about why my doing is dry. But I get very offended on that. So I really want to get the chance to tell you guys why this Geico is really a big example of a success. They're selling some product that nobody wants, or they're getting the visibility of things that how they're going to build their portfolio. And I'm going to show you how this open source comes into the picture. So let's go on to the next. You guys can take a picture so you get a chance to know me. So I'm offering manager. I'm really looking at how I'm going to build my team from a technical team point of view. I'm coming from IBM Cloud side, focusing on the open source development as well as the IBM Cloud platform. But we do not want to talk about salesy about IBM Cloud. I really want to talk to you about, this is why I don't wear any IBM shirts, because I want to be here to tell you, I feel strongly and powerfully this is where it should be. Why is it open source itself, right? When you're looking at enterprise level of open source, a lot of proven materials is right here. They talk about, you have tons of open source project. What is that? Open source is not free. Open source can be free for innovative. They started from the university. They started from college level back to 30, 40 years ago. They already have that. The originally one of people is all the developers are putting in brainstorming, coming to some fancy, innovative ideas and put them all together, like a crowdsourcing idea, we can put them all together as a big project. But what's the next step? The next step become company enterprise level realize the power of intelligence and the innovative, the community based on the information, how you can put into grow that career. It is so powerful. So that's how we come up with Linux. Let's come up with Red Hat, right? Anybody know what's about Linux and Red Hat? Yeah? You nod your head? Good. So for people who didn't know what Linux is, it's really just command line code, right? Really just helping you to kick out all the unnecessary the headers and your libraries, but you can still bring some solid command code, object base of the command to run in the environment called Linux. Really just, on the basic foundations of no noise type of compilation, but there's no graphic user interface, nothing at all. So why are enterprises so important? When you're looking at most of the company like Microsoft, like Amazon, even Alibaba. Also, there's a couple clouds offering even Samsung outside. They're just talking to the developer program. They have their own cloud too. There's so many companies have their own cloud. Why is it so super important for open source? Because this is why, first, open source is not free. You can use the limited functions of the community offering, but your build can be enterprise level of open source. This has become moderated effort. And that is where you come along with things like a JBoss communities that you really need to contribute on that, and you can work around it. There are tons of the open source spaces of how you're going to start from what you want. I would suggest a couple things that you can try to do, right? First of all, looking at what your company is actually focusing on. If you're employed, who is in the DevOps space? Who's in the DevOps space? Very little. Who's in the platform application development space? Okay, so you all know what areas you're going to have, right? Identify that one, maybe two, that you can contribute to open source. Even no clue about what the heck is that. Just don't worry about it. Just identify first step. What is that first? Then, what you want to do is looking at how many different open sources that are out there. How are you going to navigate through? People say, you always say, fake it until you make it. I don't like that terminology. I really don't. Because when you fake it, people know that you don't know what you're talking about. Because we're developers, we can spot liars everywhere. We smell like 3 miles away. We know that. So how are you going to make sure they really understand this? You started from going to their individual website, looking always on the getting start. I know that. Why do I waste my time here? Because there's more to it. When you go into those getting start, you will see some information regarding to the tutorial, right? You can go in there, but the most important thing is a contribution. So when you're looking at those docs, good for you, but you're not following. What is that all about? That is your value to contribute. That's how the enterprise look at you, say, you have value because you understand what's missing. Am I right? Right? I'm not going to talk to you about, hey, you can go, step one, go to get started, get a tutorial, but I am really passionate about is how you can take from here, from this tutorial, and you found out there's information you don't have, like things like, can I take a look from docs, and where are the docs? I'm not going to read all the developer hate docs. I can relate it to that. But when you go into docs, there's always an installation guide, and the compound was additional like a YouTube resources, things that, examples, a tutorial. That's how you get yourself build out those skill set. So obviously, you're talking the language first. We identify the language that the company needs you. Secondly, they're looking at where the resources you can find through. Once you go through that, the most important thing what I care about is your hands-on experience. Because when you have a hands-on experience, then you can talk about and brag about or even publish about your blog into the world. Ideally, world knows what you do. You may talk all your blog you want, but you forgot marketing yourself, then you're just sitting there in the mediums or blogging somewhere. Nobody knows you have just published the blog, right? So we're going to talk about that later on. So first of all, you see there's a couple of things like, things about learn, from TensorFlow, for example. You go into tutorial, then guide, what are those things? What you really want to do is the hands-on experience start from tutorial. I would like to recommend something on that. This is just for personal build-up experience. Python, same thing. I found out when you go, there's kind of embedded somewhere, but there's always a way you want to go through. You want to look at the beginner's guide, but also you can see what kind of documentation you have. But most importantly, the developer guide. I did not highlight it because I didn't have a time to highlight it. So developer guide is kind of important for that. Another thing you really want to spend your 5 to 10 minutes is about your frequent asked questions, because those are helping you to identify what kind of installation environment. So now, important things, where can you contribute? You had no idea how to contribute. I don't even know what pull requests before. How am I going to make this happen? I can share your pain. Because there's many instruction videos out there. It's just very inconsistent. Either I don't understand their language, or I have a comprehension level with dyslexia or something. So the very important, I feel strongly, if you see any GitHub have grammar, it's a human language. You see spelling error, that's your way to contribute, right? That's from the documentation point of view. Now important, this is what I want to mention to you guys. If you go on to any new open source, the environmental installation error, you go into the Slack, you're compiling, and you saw the error come out. Please just don't let the developer discourage you. Just say, hey, this is just an installation error. Don't worry about it. The deployment was not done, so you had to wait for a cloud. No, blog about it. Talk about it. Say, because I realized this error, that's how I end up with an installation error. I just encourage you two developers to blog about it from our company or project. It's just because they were an external user, and they go in there and take a look. They don't see the value of that. They really wanted to find out what's going on, and it turned out to be, it's just environmental error, had nothing to do with open source, but they forgot to document it. So I asked them, you documented, you contributed, that's where you are. So the big idea is, when you see error, document. When you see things that you can blog about, and you can tweak about it, you can talk about it. You want to be able to have a social media to come along or with your ability to share your view in the world. But don't forget, everything you do are valuable to the company, because if that's what you represent, you need to make sure you have that to make that as visible as possible. Things like a build and run error. Sometimes developer tends too busy, they forgot to document that. That's just something, not only documentation, but also your runtime error. You can put out videos and build on some kind of a, I would say, your own blog, your own content. This is important, because I'm in the developer outreach space, and I can tell you right now, there are tons of intelligent developers out there. They forgot. They just feel like, hey, this is not important. I'm not going to spend time to build my own profile. This is not worth it for me. I can tell you right now, that's how other people that you absolutely hate get promoted. Make sense? So I'm going to tell you, this is something I feel strongly that things like, missing your loss, you have any feature, you really want to put it in. any empty instructional videos that you feel like you can put it in as well. Don't just looking at other people's talking. You have your own flavor of a video recorded. And of course, you don't just randomly record. I want you to submit to the GitHub repository so you can get developer to vouch that it's accurate and it's absolutely good, and then you contribute it back to the GitHub repository and you get accepted. And that's how you close it. Like I said, we just talk about that, and you make sure you just do vice versa. When you try, there's more information, you just continue documenting your error. And people. I can see companies that go left and right struggling to want to understand why their open source doesn't work. And I can tell you right now, it's because when developers hasn't have a chances to finish their feature, and we just talk empty. So that another way you can try to approach differently is you, as developer from outside that companies of the open source, you can start contributing. Say, hey, why don't you try to do this? I know you're trying to do the DevOps area, but if you have that in the feature, great, submit it. If you don't have those features in the prioritization, can you please put it on? And then here's my code. I would like to suggest that. That's where the contribution comes in. That you help development to become creative. That you help contribution to the world. That is how your boss will notify, knowing that you do know your stuff, right? You gotta try and speak technically. This is what the public places you can do. Nowadays, who care about what degree you're coming from? They care about how good you can code and you can think critically. Then that's where the space area you can try to devote it now. So I'll give you the examples on the GitHub. From Kubernetes, you can try to find either any keywords from the search work, but most importantly, you need to know you see you have 41,000 the repository result comes in, what you can do. You gotta start somewhere. So I usually would like to recommend not the first one, but sometimes the getting started. You can start from that. You can go into their Kubernetes, the topic spaces to find out, but I would recommend that you really need to find a getting started to really get your hands on the experience. Same thing with that. I would like to say, put on the getting started and see what you have more. For example, you're looking at a getting started, 2 spaces in the getting started from a company or projects. That's where our company is working on. I thought this is something that we're really lacking of the developers to come in to put out more of the information on the IBM platform. But unfortunately, we don't want to tagging this as an IBM. This is really just open up to the developers to contribute. So we wanted you guys to brainstorm, contribute on that. Anybody who is a Java EE coder? Anybody? Java EE developer? I know Chris. How about who is in the Python development? Wow, we have a lot more Python, so AI area. That's where you can contribute, because if you see there's the things that you don't have and didn't speak to you, that's where you can contribute. You build your story, say, do you guys support Python? If the developer, whoever responded to you, no, we don't develop on Python. Fine, I'll develop one for you. That is another way to build that necessity of the space, to understand that the open source, what space to try to tackle to. So Cabanero is open source for DevOps spaces. We really want you guys to build that incredible skill set. If you don't have it, that's fine, go discover. Understand the open source project. Then you can work around it and get a chances to experience, and then you can contribute. And if you still don't see it, then you definitely will find out there's a gap between the learning, then you can contribute on that. That's all the way you can contribute to open source. That's how you grow your career. Your career cannot be speak intelligently when you don't have a technical skill to help out. But even people tell you you don't have a technical skill, don't stop. Nobody defines you except who you are. I'm here to tell you guys is open source is the future of the software development world. That's it. I know it. I'm very passionate about that. This is where we can develop the collaboration in the worldwide as a village. We can make the difference through all this kind of contribution. But with your name attached to it, it make it even better, because now you're not a company bound. You are who you are, and you can use your skill set to impress other people. So that's why I really wanted to let you guys know that there's other information out there to show you what other resources you can find it. I'm going to show you that later on in the later slide as a references. But the most importantly, it's all about how you build your profile when people tell you you are bad at it. Am I correct? So I want you to believe this is something that in this particular session, I hope it didn't take the whole entire hour. I want to get it as just only 20 to 30 minutes and we get a chance to talk. But my passion is to get everyone to contribute to a Carbonero project or Kubernetes project or your Eclipse project. That's all I want you to do. Take a look at what we're trying to, I would say we means the company trying to sell you something, but when you look into the open source, it's another way. You get that particular company that aware of your skill set. You get that company aware of your capability. I promise you, you get hired because people out there, the recruiters, find you everywhere to find that capability right there. So I got pinged so many times by other companies, and I can tell you right now, it's all the skill set speaks the loudest. So I want to share you guys on that talk. Another thing, developer forgot about one thing is to bragging yourself. I see some excellent people that build their careers through building their own portfolio. Then they put down really nicely their CVs, their talk. I just finished the Chris talk just now. And really like that, and I really want to talk about it. I want to going to talk to blog about that, the Chris's talk, and all of a sudden I need to go down to his website. I'm hoping can find his website, nothing. So I really will hope you guys just think about that way. And also I talked to Chris Richardson just now. It was great. It was discovered because he published a book. So now he has his own portfolio. Now he can start to outreach it as a personal consulting. You make more generations through that DevOps business or microservices or any spaces you want to get into. This is what you're going to do. You got to build your own portfolio. I mean, I'm building my own portfolio right now because it's just, I feel like I wish somebody tell me this. My whole family, I'm a first generation. Nobody told me all about this. I learned this all by myself. I don't speak English until I'm 20 years old. It is awful. My parents are still, up till today, doesn't speak English. My son's here today, so I'm like, you know what, let's just go ahead and share. No one can restrict you when you restrict yourself. So when you believe in that, I believe this is your unlimited potential where you can build. Another very important thing is I really wanted to get you guys to build out. That's what Google's and Microsoft, I talked to a lot of recruiters from that in the recruiting spaces. A lot of those developer websites, it really matters to that. Co-mentors is the one I really like because it really, I signed up for the profile and I got a chance to have a mentor outside my company really helping me how to build my microservices. And I got a chance to talk to some intelligent developers for free. Seriously, for free. I don't know what's wrong with that. I love for free. So take a look on the co-mentor. And then Medium, obviously, everybody knows about it. Another thing I really want to introduce you, there's two websites like the D-Zone and the Hacker Noon. Love it. I learned these two websites from my mentor and helping me how to build my microservices for the first time in my life. And he told me, he said, Juanita, you got to give it a try. Just don't be afraid to talk about something just so trivial. People are going to walk away from your talk, but they're passionate when people are sitting there and really want to know about something, what you're trying to tell. That's the value that I've learned, to be mentee and give it back to the world. So I feel like this is really important. You get a chance to discover, go on to Hacker Noon, and you get a chance to see what kind of value you can learn. There are a lot of people talk about Kubernetes, and I was very vague about that for a while, but now I realize it's okay. I'm vague, everybody else is too. So, right, everybody agree, yeah? And another thing I really like is don't build your own community, but through that community, how you're going to go is to go into other people's meetup to talk to intelligent people or people who have the same struggle with you. Just like today, I feel this Silicon Valley co-camp, I've been with this camp for about 3-4 years. And I feel every time I'm here, I always get a value because I met new people. I found myself today, I need to meet 10 new people, 10 in a DevOps spaces. And I get their card and I get a chance to talk to them. And guess what? They right away accept and even asked me to connect to LinkedIn. And they really wanted me to talk about it. And they tell me, say, do you have any book I can talk about it? And I can learn about it. And then the guy's like, yeah, I would love you to talk about it. So I have a lot of book to read after this. But I feel like if I'm going to spend my weekend myself to coming here, I don't get paid to talk to this, right? I really want to make sure that everybody understands I'm here to be neutral. I love to be in developer spaces. I came from an engineering side. I don't know anything about computer science. I learned everything coding all by myself. And I have a good mentors when I was in graduate studies, but that's just very limited. They all talk about C. Who coding C now? Help me out here. Is anybody coding C? Anybody coding BASIC? Oh, no? I am not that old. How about Fortran? Can somebody help me? Somebody put in Fortran 95. No? Okay. I started from Windows 92. Yeah, 92. And the very first thing, when I was at University of Waterloo, I'm from Taiwan, but I went to Canada. So when I was in University of Waterloo, the very first thing they developed is called Solarius. Anybody remember Solarius? No? Yeah, you know? Oh, that's great, because now it's called Linux. So I didn't know that system is called Linux until years after. But yeah, I realized that I learned all those things because I wasn't intended to, but I'm just curious. I just don't want to be stupid, and I was always working everywhere and doing some stupid and funny things, and I realized it's okay. People can treat me as who they are because that's who they are. I am not that. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to fight for it. So I want you to know that that is the belief you're going to your meetup, your workshop, your hackathon, especially hackathon. You're going there all by yourself. It's okay. You're just forming the group on the spot. And then sometimes I go in there and say, I really haven't coded for a while. Can you guys don't mind to do a group hackathon with me? And then everybody loves that because now I can know design. I know all the process that need to be done. I know how to present well. I know how to value. And this. So I wanted 1 to 2 hackathon. I was really happy. They're not big. It's okay. But you have the experience, right? So I really wanted you guys to talk about how you build your own community of how you associate with a workshop, how you get into the hackathon. Join. There's a hackers hackathon somewhere. Google it. You'll find it. And there's a company developer program. So Google has a developer program. IBM has. Samsung has. All right. So they have AT&T has. There are tons of the developer program that allow you to join and contribute. Then remember, it is open source after all. So it means there you can free to share. You have no concern of being copied. The question here is that when the company start using that, that's where Amazon, you heard about, anybody knows about the Amazon did this before, is they always tend to have their open source contributions and they put a package together. There's a lawsuit out there right now. I don't know what's going on at that end, but I know they have a couple of the discussion, legal discussion in regarding to that, where open source is really, truthfully, it's fundamentally for you guys is to try to see the value of it. There's a reason why they are out there. If you don't see it from their main website, go Google around, learn about the value, then build your own community for that white space. So I found out the why is very crucial. Events, you can try to join, like events like this. I prefer the developer focus conference. They're very concentrated, focusing on technical area. But also they're providing talk like us, like my talk right now. I'm asking for something very trivial, very simple, but it's easy to digest. I make it very simple for you guys, right? So I really want the easy digestions on the topics that we're talking about. Most importantly, join the public Slack open space, because you have on your open source, you must join the conversation. That's where you can do. You can try to build that credibility through asking questions. Of course, the public speaking, try to share what you know. It's very important. Of course, I remember I talked to one of the AI talk, and one of the person coming to say, well, you don't even know artificial intelligence. So I said, well, this talk is really not something about much deeper. So he started on a challenge. This guy just take over my presentation. So I said, can we talk about that afterwards? So we did. So after that, I telling him this was not designed the audience to that level of it, but he welcome to talk to some of my research. And then we become very active after that talk, become a very good friend in the AI spaces, so we share about what kind of model we need to do, how we're filtering, how do we get the regression, how do we get the variance of the data so we can filter that. It's really exciting because through that kind of public talk, you build your criticism, you build your public profile, or also build your applause from people's recognition. This is very crucial for that, and I think you guys can take a look. I always like to make fun of it. Like I'd say, I started with the first talk with Geico. I remember we have a conference, I went to this conference, the Geico CEO standing there and he just putting the camel. Everybody else thinking about camel, right? Geico started with a camel. It's Wednesday, right? What day's day? So that is incredible powerful. Why is it so important powerful? Because you build something that's completely relaxed in the spaces that people can relate it, and they start sending a tiny message in there and building that little kind of respectful areas. That's what I'm trying to say is when you are trying to do the public speaking, try to be humorous and take it as a sotogram. Just don't do a grain of salt. Don't even think that this is something that's going to be bad for it. And give it a try. Build your own success, portfolio work for your work. That's what I did it. And make sure you're brave to ask for promotion when you're in front of your manager. So when you're in front of your manager, you gotta build that portfolio, right? Did I tell you that? You gotta build and say, I did this talk, I have done this, and what's the impact to that? And that's always, I feel this is very important. But what I did is, every time I go through something, I track their analytics. So I have a Google Analytics, I sign up for that, and I can see my own work, how many people come in, how many people were actively using it. I thought this is really cool for developer like us. When we speak data, let's do data. So use your data to support you, but don't get driven or get discouraged by data when they don't speak to you. So that's what I'm trying to say, is build your visibility within yourself and continue doing what your space is. So therefore, the last sentence, what I want to tell you guys is, when other developments errors, it's your money effort. Means you can do a lot more beyond this. And I really wanted to thank you guys. I want to make it very short, so thank you guys for being here. And any questions? Any question? Since we have, if anybody want to stay, I want to show you guys what the other open sources that we've been working around. You guys want to see it? Okay, good, excellent. And of course, I need to get my mouse back. Oh, there you go. All right. So when you don't know what kind of open source your company will care about, sometimes you can do a lot. If you do some of Python, you can look into the Python space. You can go into things called opensource.com, opensource.org. Those are two different links you can try to look at. I found out this is kind of too generic. I don't like it. I love about is making discoveries through, for example, if I want to see some docs and I see there's some corrections on this, I will put it in. I try one of the installations from the GitHub, and I found that there's an error, then I let them kind of correct on that. So I usually do the pull request or create an issue to report it to that, so the development team can be aware of. That's my profile. I usually track them, how many people is actually using it. There's even a resource for you guys. That's how I learned it. How to contribute to open source, right? This is a site I like Hockett every day. I eat my breakfast with it. I go to sleep with it because I found this is really helpful content for me. I get a chance to discover multiple different open source through that. Another thing I'll show you guys on the Hacker Noon, that website I talk about. Yeah, question. opensource.guide and how-to-contribute. You want to take a picture? Okay? Cool. All right, Hacker Noon. I know sometimes you can get a really cool project. I love those hardware stuff. My son and I, we do quite a bit when we were young on their hardware and going to those makers event. Anybody knows about maker event? Yeah? Yeah. I know they no longer going to host it in Mountain View. So it's so sad. Another thing that I mentioned about some companies are also not only looking at software application development side, they're also looking at mainframe side. So let me ask you, what do you think AI and machine learning, they're running on what? On cloud. What is a cloud running on? Server. So without server, how do AI talk to? You can't. Am I right? So I can see in the next 10 to 20 years, we're going to have a severe needs in DevOps space. That's the reason we see it right now, because the developers are focusing on so much of their coding. They have their function, they have things they had to do the testing, they have their feature, they also have additional need to make sure they have some other package they're going to put it in, but they didn't really want to care about who the heck is this DevOps, who cares? But question is, without deployment, without a speedy deployment or any definitely constant quote unquote update on the container spaces, then you're having trouble. Am I right? So you have to have a way to managing that. This one's called Zoe, Z-O-W-E. This is an open source, another way to help a developer like you guys to handle contributions, to contribute to Linux from a data platform point of view. So this is managing, the reason is because they're running from System Z. A lot of banking systems that weren't running using the older coding called COBOL. Anybody know how to do COBOL? Really? No. You look so young. How did you know about COBOL? Okay. So a lot of money-making banking, they're still using COBOL because they can have a hard time to maintain that. So that's where they start putting the open source effort. That's another way you can tap it into it because your skill set become not obsolete, but become unique, right? There's another good one I found. This is not Zoe. This is Zoe we just talked about. Oh, there you go. This one is the model asset exchange is really related to the machine learning. They can using a lot of R language to build. They can using a lot of Python. So this one you can take a picture. I found this is really helpful because when back to the old day, when I'm working for Department of Defense, it was awful because we're trying to get the fighter pilot when they're landing on a Navy ship, and the speed on the ship is really fast. And the pilot had to come down. So what problem here is the landing gear, because then you come with a lot of bouncing. And we're using the machine learning 20 years ago, trying to figure out how we can see using eddy current to collect those data. And that's this. I wish we had this before, because in the time, we didn't know what we were looking at. So a lot of analog data, and you had to filter. You had to find out where is your regression point, so you can see your variance, and you see the range of your data, and so you can filter out all the noise, and you can kind of use those data stuff, picking out what does it make sense to us, so we can see the vibration. Then from analog signal, you become digital signal, and this one already help you have a lot of preset, the templates and model to help you to run those simulation. We usually had to sit there for 1 week for very tiny data set. This one, it takes you probably less than an hour or 20 minutes. You already got to compile because the power of a cloud computing comes in. So I thought this is good to share with you guys. Another way you guys can build your skill set if you're in Python, if you're in COBOL, things like data that way you can develop on can be something useful on this. If you don't see the support, you can always contribute there. I don't see the support, where can I get those open source to input on that? This is my team's developing on, it's called Copanero.io, right? This happened since July. We started doing the new of the guided experiences, and I think there's videos right here. The person's voice you can hear over there, sitting over there. Raise your hand. Hello. There you go. So he built this one as a YouTube videos. I found out this is very helpful because a lot of mumbo jumbo when I hear other people's talk. I think this one's the most practical for me from an enterprise architect point of view. So if you look at it, you have a tried experience. You have multiple guided experience. If you go into the guide, You have 3 different, they even tell you how long you probably will need to struggle some of the installation process. But this is all 3 guided experience I found is very practical, using different kind of the coding. And if you don't know what are they, go take a look. You understand. And if you don't have problem, there's always a GitHub and Slack team room. You feel free to communicate with people. Another pretty cool new project come out, Eclipse Code Wind. This is some IDE and development environment that the open source community is trying to put it on. This is also part of our IBM's open source effort. So App City, what I found is it's more relatable to application developers. This is really truly using like an Eclipse micro profile, things like Spring Boot and Node.js. This is really cool tool of a set that you can use it to build your, while you're doing your development, you can build your DevOps along with it. And there's more on the Docker container images. You can tweet about it. So that's another one you guys can do to work around, learn something new. I just met someone who actually is very involved with the Tecton, so on the Kubernetes Knative area. I thought this is a cool project to involve. I'm showing you that even though this shows it as a website, as a same thing like I'm telling you, right? If a website is under the construction, who cares? You see there's a GitHub right here. You have a GitHub repo. Go into GitHub and take a look. Usually they give you there's a README and everything. When you contribute, you may end up being notified, being recognized, because your technical profile is in there on the GitHub, and everybody can see it. And that's how you can build your career, to grow them visibly without anybody telling you can, you cannot. The last one, but not the least, I personally feel like medium's great, but it's too shallow for me. It's just not flavorable. Means they talk about what it is, but I want it more. And I feel like it's not going in. And I go click on all the links in going in. I still feel like it's not, I don't see developer taste yet. So I feel like this is more on the developer outreach. If you really want to reach out your community, you can share with the people. You can talk about this on the blogging. That's also not a free way you can try to blog about it. But if you really want to go something deeper, I feel like Hacker Noon is still much deeper. Any question? Yes. Yes, I do, but I'm not allowed to say it. Well, no, I take that back. I think it's not really most popular. It's more on what the trend of the market segment will be, right? For example, people all talk about AI. It's overselling now. It's last year's language. If people talk about artificial intelligence, it's a last year language. Now the companies are picking out that artificial intelligence means what they can do using that capability into multiple different tiers. You can go to application from this computer, from consumer services, or you can go down to detecting your log error services, or they can automate it. So it's become kind of merged in there now. So unfortunately, I can tell you the best recommendations for you to start. Where is this the open source you really like to tag it in? It depends on what you're good at. So you ask yourself, if you're really good in Java development, then you really want to get into like Java, Spring Boot, Node.js type of things, a script language to help you on that. Then I say Node.js is probably the best popular project you can do. I found that's very easy for me, and then I pick up with IBM's Node-RED, and I pick up really well because now I can just object-oriented drop and play, and I can code and customize. And that's how I do it. So I can see, I like to have my development IDE environment, but I can also see my log on my right-hand side. I hate the log in the bottom. So what I see, I like to see all the trace errors so I can trace back. So I don't have a good recommendation, depends on what you like. I prefer to like to go using TensorFlow. I really like TensorFlow a lot. So it's already halfway development on that. So I like TensorFlow because it's easy, understandable, and then I like to support with the Go language. So that's the two things I like very much. It's a very development-oriented site. But if you really want to do it in enterprise, that's Node.js. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you so much.